So I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Andrea. I'll introduce myself in a couple slides here. Welcome to MSA's Meet the Parents Zoom. And we decided to host this because unfortunately we haven't been able to meet in person. And all of the auditions and everything else has of course been by Zoom. So parents haven't really had any opportunity to meet any other parents. I know that that was really important to me when I was taking my daughter Lizzie on her interviews. It was so nice to be on campus and meet some staff and other parents, and it really helped my decision. So, so that's why we're hosting this tonight. And I would ask that everybody please remain on mute except for my co-hosts tonight. And any questions that you have, enter them in the chat section. That would be really helpful. And we're going to moderate that chat section after we go through a few slides here of introductions and telling you some things that we think you'd want to know about MSA. So our agenda for the next hour or so is we're going to take about 5 minutes just to welcome all of you to the Zoom. And that will be a nice note from our fearless leader, Michelle, who I'm sure all of you have met at this point. And then we're going to go through our current parent host intros. So myself, Lynn, John, Denise, Beth, and Dave. And that'll take about 15 minutes. And then just a couple minutes on some of the FAQs that we get all the time that we know that at least some of you probably want the answers to, and also let you know where you can find some other additional resources for just general information about MSA and NHS. And then we'll open it up, just an open forum, on the spot chat questions. Feel free to ask us anything that you'd like. So I'm going to turn it over to Michelle to say hi and welcome all of you. And then we'll take it from there and have parent-to-parent conversation.
Well, this is exciting because this is not an official MSA event, nor is it an official Novato High School event, but it's an MSA Foundation event. And I really appreciate the foundation leaders, and our fearless leader, Andrea, is actually, she's in her first year. She has a freshman child. She'll tell you more about that in a moment. But I thought I would just take a moment to, again, say hello and welcome. And, you know, I'm going to be in my position, hopefully for a really long time, because my daughter is still just in 5th grade. And I can't wait for her to go to MSA and to graduate from MSA. So we've got some years together. But there's one of the lovely jobs that I have to do is to kind of bless a crowd, because I not only see arts, but I also oversee wellness and equity at Novato High School. And so I know John was there, and there may have been a few other people. Something that I have done before, not only at MSA events, but also at Novato High School events like our Black and Gold PTSA thing, is something I'm about to do with you. And you can do it on mute. And you don't have to be embarrassed because no one will hear you, but it'll feel better. So this is just my lovely welcome to the community. And I'm going to say something and ask for you to repeat after me if you're comfortable. And if you don't want to play, no one will know. But this is the meta loving kindness blessing that I used to do in those yoga classes. And I've done in both Novato High School settings and MSA settings. And first I just say, may we be happy. And you just say it to yourself on mute. I see your lips moving, so I know it's happening. And then we say, may we be healthy. I can hear you all in your homes. May we be peaceful. I'm going to add one extra because there's normally 4, but we'll do 5. May we be artsy. And may we be free. And that's free to build relationships as adults with one another, and free for our students to feel like they have their identity, purpose, and passion validated, and free to really thrive in a high school community. And so really that's what we're all about. And with that, I'm actually going to exit, and this will be just an affiliated space for parents to talk to parents. But thank you so much for joining. And at the end of this deck, you'll see that we have reinstated our MSA office hours every Thursday, and you'll get information about that. So if you want to talk to me more about why in the world I would do something like this to you, or anything else about your children, I'd love to connect with you. And with that, I'm going to peace out, as they say.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Have a good night.
Have a great night, everyone.
Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, that was a really nice warm welcome from Michelle, as they always are. So, you know, tonight this is really we're just fellow parents, and we're here to answer any questions that you have about the MSA community. And it's from our own personal perspectives and the experiences that our student artists have had so far. One thing that I wanted to say, and I think Michelle actually summed all of this up, but I was like, well, how would I describe this community that I'm actually new to? But I think Michelle just did that by starting with a meta loving kindness blessing, which I didn't even know she'd do. But I guess I would say, I mean, you know, everybody on the call tonight, I'm sure, knows that MSA really offers a college level arts training for kids who are really passionate about certain arts. And I think the other important thing is that it really is a place of connection, meaning, and empathy. And I pulled that from the website, but I pulled it because I really believe it to be true. And I think that any interactions you've had with the school or the administrators would reinforce that message. And, you know, I really think that this is a nice, diverse school, and children are really celebrated. And I've only had the experience so far of having Zoom school with MSA, and it's still been an amazing experience. So with that, I'm going to tell you a little more about myself. This is not all about me, but then we'll get into the other parents, but just so you know who you're talking to and you can direct questions to based on your children and your family and your interests. My name is Andrea Farris, and I live in Mill Valley, so I am new to MSA and the Novato community altogether. And my daughter is Lizzie. She's a freshman in the drawing and painting program. I do also have a son, and he's a junior at Tam High. And, you know, I mentioned that because Tam High is actually a great school too, and it's right around the corner. They do have a decent arts program as well, but my daughter Lizzie really wanted to look into all kinds of art schools. And, you know, there's some of the art that she's done, and Lizzie's the kind of kid who you know, she changes her hair color every week. She cuts her hair almost every day. She's just really creative. She's a little bit different. She really wanted a place where she felt like it was home. And that's really what we found with MSA. So we're willing to make the trek when we can. And we're excited about the carpooling option for that too. I have found MSA to be honestly an amazing community. I mean, the other parents that I'm co-hosting this with tonight have been fantastic. There's a lot of parent involvement in terms of the volunteering and putting on all these events. So, you know, lots of opportunity to be in the community, and, you know, you feel the warmth from Michelle, and I mean, she's really heading the school and leading that. And you feel that from the entire staff. I mean, it's really a great place. I am the secretary of the MSA Foundation Board, which means I take the notes. That's my exciting job. But that's also been great to be involved with it and understand a little more about how the school is run and where our contributions go and what the opportunities are. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Lynne, and she can talk a little bit about herself. And then Lynne, you can introduce John after.
Thank you, Andrea. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Lynne Marola. So we've lived in Novato for probably about 17 years and probably about 20 years in Marin altogether. I have two kids. My eldest is CJ, who's a junior at Novato High School. He plays the saxophone and is in the jazz group at, and my daughter Jacqueline is a freshman, and she's focusing on I guess they call it foundation art, as well as choir. And I am in my first year of MSA as a board member. I come from, I guess, originally from San Francisco, and I do work full time. I've been working in the high tech kind of side or industry for, I guess, over 20 years now. But I work primarily from home, so that kind of works out with Silicon Valley. Wanted to mention that, you know, the MSA community has been just amazing. And it's opened up a lot of great opportunities for our students, and our kids, you know, are very excited to be here and to participate. And so I'm very happy to be a member of the MSA board and be able to contribute as well. So with that, let me go ahead and pass it on to John Marshall.
Thank you, Lynn. I've been in Novato since '97. I can't believe I've been here that long, and we've trekked through kindergarten all the way to being a senior at NUSD. Toby, who has been in MSA for 4 years and has actually taken 3 periods of art starting her sophomore year in digital arts and photography. Did participate in water polo and swim, and really shifted her career focus from what she thought she wanted to do, science based, but really hadn't dabbled in it, and is now going to focus on digital arts and animation in her future college career. So that was an exciting change that occurred in MSA. Been at the board level for 4 years, and I've been given the role of president, which has been a very rewarding experience to lead this group of amazing volunteers. And I think mentioned the community going to, coming from elementary and then going to middle school, the schools get bigger and bigger as you go along. And I think that was the big aha at Novato High with MSA and some of its other programs that are specialized. It brings that larger school down in size and makes it a smaller, tighter knit community. Toby's often had the same classes because of her MSA schedule with a number of her MSA students. So it gave her a smaller community to bond with, as well as being part of a larger high school. And that was a great experience that I didn't expect or didn't know what to expect. So please look forward to that. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Denise Castellucci.
Hello, thank you so much for coming. And our family is a transfer family from the Miller Creek School District, and we live in Marinwood, and we moved here from San Francisco in 2004. My son Lewis is a junior in the rock band program. He's been in the rock band program for 3 years, and he's also dabbled in photography and digital arts, but his main emphasis has been playing electric guitar and electric bass. And he's been really enjoying with other, playing with other, performing virtually and on stage with, his fellow musicians. And he, MSA soirees are our favorite because it allows students to show their work in a supportive environment, and also perform something that's maybe not their discipline. And it's a great night also for parents and families to get together and everything. So, and also my son is also very academic. So for those who are wondering, is this just an art school, but it's also a great academic experience that prepares you for UC Berkeley or Berkeley School of the Music. And so I've been a music booster for 3 years and on the board for 2. And my role is a volunteer coordinator. So, and I have the best volunteers in the world, and they're all parents and students. And if you have any questions about the volunteer opportunities, feel free to give me a call or ask a question tonight. Thank you. And next is Miss Beth Silver.
Hi, everybody. My name is Beth Silver. I have a senior whose name is Bibi, and I have both my kids will be graduating. My son will be graduating post-secondary and special education, both in June. So we came to MSA. As I said, we live in San Rafael, and my daughter was at a relatively small independent school, coming into a big, diverse high school, which is exactly what she wanted, and not necessarily wanting her mom near her or involved as they are in high school. And so I reached out to become involved in the foundation as a way to really be a part of the school and feel like I could contribute to help her and her high school experience for all the children. And it's been a wonderfully rewarding experience. BB started in the dance program, and she did 2 years in the dance program and then decided to make a change. So that's a picture of her dancing. That was one of her solos her sophomore year, which was amazing. And switched over to creative writing, has also dabbled in photography and foundation art. So she's had that ability to really explore her own creativity and kind of see what speaks to her and what she can become more passionate about and learn about herself. BB is a 4-year varsity athlete, so she's been on the competitive cheer team for 4 years, which has been great. She's taken many AP classes and has, thank goodness, some wonderful college choices. So her academic experience has been great. Her MSA community has been so supportive. And as a mom having my baby girl come to a big high school, it was lovely to know that she had the foundation in the community of MSA as she entered that, because we're new to Novato Unified, and it's been a really lovely experience for her. As I said, it's my 4th year on the board. I'm happy to talk about transfers. I'm happy to talk about the carpooling. I was freaking out when I was in your space 4 years ago going, how on earth am I going to get her to school and deal with the traffic back? Who can we carpool with? And happy to answer any of those questions, or about anything. I'm happy to answer. And I'm really happy to see so many people here and am interested. And it's going to be a great experience when everybody's on campus.
Andrew's going. Keenan. I don't know.
Can everybody make sure you remain on mute?
Oh, sorry.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
That's okay. So I'm going to introduce Dave Winnick, who's the perfect person to hit clean up here.
Oh, Beth. My name is Dave Winnick. I have been part of MSA. My oldest of 3 daughters, started as a freshman in 2011. So we did our audition, our application process in 2010 when I was 12 years old. No. We have the experience we've had at MSA gives me goosebumps as I sit here and speak to all of you. My kids grew up in the Novato schools by the choice that my wife and I made many years ago. And as when my kids were little, this phenomenon called MSA landed in our laps. And I cannot stress enough what it has meant to my family over the years. All 3 of my girls have gone through the musical theater program. 2 I've run all the way through, and the 3rd is now in her sophomore year. Everything that you've heard about the academics, any academic opportunity you want for your children, you can have here. MSA students have gone on to any number of phenomenal universities all over the world, frankly. I have been on the MSA Foundation board this is my 4th year. I spent, as you might imagine, several years on the theater boosters in various capacities before that. No one loves this place more than I do, and no one can talk about it as long as I can, and I'm happy to do so. Please give me any questions you have. The one thing I'll point out here on my little slide in the lower left-hand corner was one of the proudest nights of my life when my youngest, who was 5 when her big sister auditioned, got a chance to perform on the stage that her 2 big sisters had performed on. And the 2 big sisters came back from where they were in the world to be part of it. And the spirit of this school that lives in my children and how it has shaped them into strong, confident young women, I can't say enough about. And I'm so grateful for all of you showing up here this evening to learn more about it. You've got my email. Hit me up. We can talk all night. Thanks. Who do I hand it off to now?
That's
Is it
me.
Lynn's time?
Back to Andrea. Thank you, Dave.
Back to Andrea.
Dave. Yeah. If anybody's on the fence, just call Dave. So it's a little introduction of the parents who are here on the call tonight, and we will send out our contact information on the last slide and in the chat as well. So you can contact us directly if you'd like. I'm going to move into a couple of the top questions that we get, because I think there might be a lot of people on this call who want answers to those, and mention a couple resources, and then we'll just get into any of the chat Q&As. So the first question is, and I know Michelle and Shannon say they get this a lot as well, but how do parents learn about academic classes and the schedule of classes for freshman year? So the answer is that there are 5 NHS school counselors who begin meeting with incoming freshmen in May and June. The counselors are assigned by alphabet, and your family stays with the same counselor all 4 years, which is great news. Shannon handles the MSA scheduling, and the school counselor handles all of the other classes. So they kind of work together to get the schedules all set. And besides the 2 MSA classes that a freshman would take, they also take math, English, PE, science, and then a health college and career readiness, also known as CCR, health college career readiness. And in terms of a second question, we're often asked for advice on how do you help your child transition from middle school to high school. And for this, we have a couple of different answers, kind of one from a MSA perspective and also one from the NHS perspective. And from the MSA perspective, the 2 MSA class requirements really helps freshman students integrate into high school and to the MSA program, because they really feel like they have a community as soon as they have their classes. I mean, I can speak to that for Lizzie in the drawing and painting program. She had 2 art classes for her first semester. That was great. She had the same teacher. There was a lot of overlap between the kids. And even though it was only by Zoom at that point, she still had just a lot of continuity and community in the small MSA group. In addition, there are lots of different performances, which have been a huge challenge this year, of course, with everything being remote. But it's great for your prospective students to actually go to some of those performances, just, check out everything online. The website is an excellent resource for what's coming up next. Dracula is coming up next, so have a little slide on that at the end. Michelle wanted to make sure we plugged Dracula. So even if it's remote, at least they'll start feeling part of the community. And then for NHS, they have a link crew, and these are the juniors and seniors who plan a freshman orientation that happens the week before school starts. So I imagine that'll be in person again this year, I think. And so that kind of helps the kids understand where are they going on campus and how do you transition class to class? Where are your classes? What does everything look like? So, I think that the transition can be fairly smooth. The Novato High School website is a great resource. There are videos on there that we suggest pointing you to. It's their open house videos, and it's really geared towards all of the incoming families and students. It answers all the questions about academics and student supports, the culture, wellness. So a bunch of short, fun to watch videos. And as Michelle mentioned, she is actually doing office hours again. I think when she was on, she said it's Thursday, but I believe they're Wednesdays from 2 to 3 p.m. And we'll make sure that link is available to everybody as well. So this is just a drop-in MSA virtual office hours with the administrators. So with that, we're going to open it up for questions in the chat. And we did get just a handful that were emailed to us in advance, which I'll actually lob to some of our co-hosts here. Is it possible to participate in athletics and other extracurriculars as well as MSA? And to this, I was going to point it to Beth, and I would also like to get Dave's perspective on this. And anybody else who wants to jump in, please also respond.
Thank you, Andrea. I have such an experience from when we did in-person tours, and Michelle would have the students talk about their activities out of MSA, their jobs, the gigs they play, all sorts of things. So there's so many of our students do so many things. My student in particular did athletics, and her MSA schedule really allowed her to do that. Dave can speak to theater, which is a very different experience as far as time commitment, but most of the MSA disciplines really have you do your discipline during the school hours, other than, you know, traditional homework if you have any for your particular discipline. So there's opportunities. The beautiful part about being on a traditional high school campus is you can do, you know, a lot of MSA kids are on the homecoming court this year. They're doing virtually. There are kids involved in leadership. There are kids in ROTC. There are kids that are working. There are kids who are in athletics almost on every team. So there are a lot of opportunities for our students to really be very well-rounded, confident kids. Dave, I think it's important you speak to the theater experience.
Yeah, I as I mentioned, all three of my daughters have been in theater. Theater runs 3 main stage productions throughout the course of the year. The musical in the fall sort of lives then throughout the year, because they usually take the musical to competitions, and they usually do a selection of songs from the musical as part of our annual foundation showcase in the spring. So there are, if a kid is in one or more of those main stage productions, there's a pretty strenuous after school rehearsal schedule. And so that pretty strenuous after school rehearsal schedule also is on the weekends. And then when they get into the last 2 weeks before the performance, there's tech weeks, which are even more demanding. That framework makes it very difficult to engage in other extracurricular activities. Other sports, for instance. If your kid is really into a fall sport, it will be very difficult for that student to be in a fall production in the theater program and play the fall sport. So I want to make that clear to everybody. You don't have to be in the productions, but most students who are in theater want to be in the productions. If they're in the productions, it makes it difficult to do much else in the way of extracurriculars. And that also impacts another piece that I feel compelled to talk about. Again, my experiences in theater, there is an expectation, there's a requirement by law that students have a certain number of PE hours. And they can satisfy all or part of the PE obligation by being in a sport or being in a curriculum that has physical activity like dance. But it is difficult to maintain a full college prep course load and fulfill all the UC requirements for foreign language, everything else, and fulfill the obligations for PE. It is very difficult to find time to do all of those things. So I would encourage all of you who are going to bring students on campus in the fall to have that understanding, to know that that's going to be an issue, and to figure out as early as you can how to fit in all of the coursework your student is going to need relative to the MSA commitment, relative to the PE commitment. And I'll speak more about that if anybody is interested, but I just want that on everybody's.
Can I just interject? Dance, traditionally, and I think it will be this way going forward, has foundation, intermediate, and advanced. And it was intermediate and advanced that had 2 periods of dance per day. And those classes satisfied the PE requirement. So I think that may be the only discipline that does that. Athletics is a different beast, but as far as MSA is concerned.
Yeah, if that's at all unclear, ask it in the chat and we'll work to clarify it more. I'll look through the chat as Andrea hands off the next question.
So the next question I'm going to send over to Denise, and it is, how can parents get involved?
Hi. Basically, there's 2 ways in MSA to volunteer. One is your booster groups. Every program has a booster group. Visual arts have their booster group, music, theater, and the booster groups work with the instructors and the guest artists to deliver instruments, do ticket sales to fundraise for the individual groups, costuming, making sets and everything. So that's one opportunity. And I was in music boosters. The second is the board, the foundation board. There are various things you can do. You can join the board, which is the best working board that I can even imagine. It's a lot of fun. Once a month you meet and go through financials and everything. And if that seems a little bit too much, you can join a committee. We have several committees, grant writing, business development, what else is there? Communications. There's just a lot of, also you can join the committees for our major fundraisers, which is Divine Wine in the fall and Showcase, which is in the spring. And this year it's going to be in May 8th. So, if the secret sauce to MSA is not only teachers, talented students, guest teachers, but parent volunteers. In 2019, when we were all together, parents and students worked about 1,000 hours in total, and to make this magic happen. And there's also, we need just people to show up and donate water or donate stuff for fundraisers, deliver stuff. There's just a lot of stuff, and I'm really good about having a variety of options of volunteer opportunities that can fit your schedule, your bandwidth, your talents. And I would, if you're interested, you can always give me a call. I'll also be calling you when you come on board, and to see what you would like to do. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to connect to the community as a whole, meet other parents, and then you'll also get to see these magnificently talented students. And so and one of the great things about the volunteering is this volunteer community is that there's no egos, no territory, no nothing. I mean, it's basically come on in with your ideas and enthusiasm, and we'll put you to work. Don't worry. So, it's been a real pleasure to coordinate the volunteers over the past couple years, and look forward to working with you guys.
Thank you, Denise. So I have two more questions, then I'm going to hand it over to Lynne to answer everything that we're seeing come in through the chat. But the first one, and I'm going to give this one to Beth, is can you just talk a little bit about how the carpooling works for people who need ways to figure out how to get their kids to school?
Absolutely. And Michelle just texted me that we do have somebody carpooling from San Francisco. I know that question came up. So you can reach out for that. What they will do this summer is once you're enrolled, they will send a notification out to you, Shannon will, just making sure you opt in to share your information. And they sort it by neighborhood and sort of, they let you know what discipline, how old the children are. So for some people, it's been the students driving as the kids get older, and they're safe to do so. But I remember being very, very stressed about this. And I promise you, it does work out. There are tons of people that really are in the same boat you are. And assuming that everything's back in person next year, you will get that information from Michelle. So they will help facilitate that, or they will at least give you the information once people have opted in, and then you can email people about that. There was a question I wanted to answer super fast. Somebody asked a question about how many MSA classes you can have. And I know that you really, as Dave said, want to be cognizant of making sure your children get the MSA, the 2 MSA classes per year requirement, and also the academics they need for whatever their goals are going forward. But there have been students who finish their academic work and really expand upon their MSA experience. My daughter finished academically last December, and so that's why she's picked up a couple more MSA classes this spring. Goofy year, COVID, but there are people who have really had the opportunity to explore new and different disciplines. So,
and there are some disciplines. For instance, my current student, who's a sophomore now, last year she did 1 hour of theater and 1 hour of vocal music. So there are circumstances where you don't necessarily have to take both of your hours in one discipline. You can do cross-discipline work. And Shannon is probably the best one to help you coordinate that, I would think.
So one more question. I'm going to send this one over to John. Can you explain the contribution, how that works, if it's tax deductible, and anything else you wanted to share about that?
Andrea, the foundation was created as a 501c3, which is a charitable entity to gather funds to provide all the extras, the frills, and the amazing benefits that our teachers and students have to work with each given year. That presently in the last couple of years has ranged at anywhere between $400,000 and $450,000 that we've needed to raise from our parent community, as well as fundraisers and local businesses. So it's 501c3. It is definitely tax deductible. I will say, of all the organizations I've contributed over the years, MSA, our bookkeeper Karen, is on the spot. Anytime you donate online, say through the website, you'll get an immediate receipt, and you'll get a year-end summary should you contribute to at multiple times throughout a given year. So it's very well run, and definitely you have all the backup needed, and the program we need those funds. Big dreams do take funds, so we appreciate all that you can contribute to the program.
Thank you. And so now I'm going to hand it over, Lynn, to you so you can answer any of the questions that might not have been answered in the chat that we should send over to the panel.
Yeah, so we've got a good number of questions flowing through the chat, and I'll just start reading some of these off, and then direct some of them as possible. And then if any of the folks here on the board can answer as well, please chime in. So the first one, which I'll probably try and direct towards Denise, is can you talk about the process of forming groups within the rock band program? How long does the group stay together? And what are the opportunities to work with others outside of their group?
Hi. Basically, there's 6 bands that are formed, 3 per classroom, and Mr. V or Mr. Verplace and Scott Tunis will place groups, will put people in groups, and during the year in normal time, they kind of stay pretty within the group. Because they do live shows, and they want to, it's a best way of getting like a really get into the groove. Now during this distance learning, there was a lot more influx. Kids could basically they would shuffle them around, but I think it's still Mr. V's call. Now there is a possibility of getting together outside of your band to do soirees. MSA soirees are students organized along with Shannon to basically present what they're working on, and a lot of or basically they'll like the last soiree before everything shut down, a few people in rock band who liked Grateful Dead got together and did Brown Eyed Woman. for the soiree. And it was just, they just kind of threw it together, and it's kind of remarkable what they can actually do. So there sometimes, so last year when we were on campus, my son was in the same group all the way through, and it's kind of nice because it kind of makes, they have band names, and then so it's a lot of fun. Did I answer all that?
I think that sounds good.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and move. I actually realized that I missed the very first question from Ralph. Is there a typical curriculum that an MSA student follows from freshman to senior year? And if so, can we share an example?
I think every class is so individualized. They're offered at different times. Some offer, the problem with a lot of classes is that the classes are only offered one time in the schedule, and the MSA classes are pretty rigid as to when they're scheduled. So Shannon is probably the best person to ask about a typical path, or perhaps a counselor would be. But I think that there's just so much of a variation in when the MSA classes are scheduled for us to be able to sort of offer a sample. I'm sorry.
The MSA classes are the first, whatever your child chooses, they're the first two they're assigned, and then they build the rest of their curriculum around that. There are multiple NHS classes, so obviously there are more options for geometry and other academic offerings. So that is how they build the schedule. You want to work with Shannon as well as your counselor to make sure that you're getting everything lined up. But Shannon is an awesome resource to, if you're concerned or anxious about any of it, can give you some advice or direction.
I'm sorry, we're getting a lot of questions about foreign language, and this is one, my wife's a French teacher, for heaven's sake, but it is, particularly when the students get into the third and fourth year classes, those are possibly only offered one time a day. And if the time that they're offered conflicts with the MSA discipline, then something has to get, MSA can only be offered at one time. And so that's why all of my daughters have, to one degree or another, had to take classes online to supplement, to be able to fulfill their requirement for UC and do their full complement of MSA classes. That's just a cold, hard reality. And then I guess I would also, maybe this is jumping ahead, but also on the question about PE. So students, and Beth, please chime in here as you feel necessary, but students are expected to fulfill, they're required to fulfill 2 years of PE. And the freshman year, they have to do PE. Other years, they can get credit for playing a varsity sport, but they can't get credit as freshmen for playing a varsity sport. So 2 of those semesters are taken up in the freshman year. And then over the remaining 3 years, they have to have 2 other semesters, and those can be taken care of if they're able to play a varsity sport. One varsity sport equals 1 semester of the obligation, except freshman year. Beth, is that?
Yeah, that's how I remember it. We were really fortunate because she was in dance, her intermediate dance. So automatically her first 2 years, she got both years of her PE requirement done. So advanced, and someone asked the question about theater dance. And yeah, I think that has changed. And I think they are also having that help fulfill that particular requirement.
Well, this is the first I've heard of it. I've been asking about getting credit for dance for theater for 10 years. And if that's something that's happened now, that's awesome. Wish we'd had it 6 years ago, but we'll take it.
People are asking questions. If Shannon has told you that, Shannon is more up to date on some of these particulars than we are. So I would go with that. Some people are putting in that Shannon has told them those things.
Yes, Shannon told me that it's, as a freshman, if you're in the musical theatre program, there's a dance class that is the PE requirement. She told me that yesterday.
Terrific.
That's dance
Thank
PE.
you.
Yes, a lot of.
So part of the musical theatre program has a dance class that is the musical theatre program, but it's a class that can be instead of PE.
Right, dance PE, and kids can take dance PE any of the 4 years and get credit for it as against their PE obligation. And they often have freshmen do it as part of their MSA curriculum. So, you know, they do get credit for dance PE, but drawing and painting, creative writing, you know, those don't get PE credit, obviously.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. I do want to mention before I go to the next question that we are receiving a good number of inquiries. So if for some reason we don't cover or don't answer your question this evening, feel free to take a look, I guess, earlier in the chat. And I've gone ahead and shared our email addresses there so you can contact us directly. So want to make sure that you do get all your questions answered. If not verbally here, then be sure to reach out to us directly. So on to the next question. What do freshmen do if they want to take a language freshman year? I don't think we've covered that one just yet.
I don't think they're not precluded from doing that. There are plenty of people who take foreign language all 4 years, so long as they can find an offering in their chosen foreign language that doesn't conflict with their MSA obligation.
And I also would add, a lot of these academic questions will be well answered when you have your initial meeting with your counselor, which I think is coming up relatively soon, so that you can ask these questions and kind of better map out how it's going to work best for your student. And I would do it early. Dave's advice was great.
There's first time for
Okay,
everything.
thank you. Thanks, Dave and Beth. All right, next question up. Can you sign up for classes from programs that you did not apply to?
I think I'll just comment on this one. I think what a lot of people find is that's a lot easier to do for older students. Once they've been around campus a while, developed relationships with teachers and other students in other disciplines. Beth, you mentioned that your daughter was able to start doing work in other disciplines later in her career.
Mm-hmm.
There are certainly those opportunities.
Actually, one thing is my son, his second one was digital arts in his freshman year, and then digital arts in the sophomore year, it goes into two classes, and he didn't want to take 3 classes, so he was able in his sophomore year to go to the photography discipline. And basically you just need to, you know, if you are having an issue with a class, you can always talk to Shannon, and they can you know, let you know, kind of walk you through how to transition. Now, you know, from digital arts to photography was pretty easy because it was Mr. Gersh. But let's say if you wanted to go from, you know, rock band to jazz, you would have to talk to Dr. J and work through how to be considered, and if there's any room as well. That I think has a lot to do with if there's also room.
Denise, I would add BB, when she left the dance program and made that decision, she did have to re-audition. So she had to audition for photography and creative writing again. So she went through the process again, just so y'all know.
And it becomes pretty organic. I mean, the longer students are on campus, the more what I have seen is that there's movement from one discipline to another. There's students who they'll take an additional class in another discipline once they fulfilled their academic obligations. I mean, it's a family, as you're going to see, as you hopefully see tonight, as you'll see the first day you step on what is hopefully real life campus as opposed to virtual campus, you're going to see that there's this collegiality and this across the community friendship that takes place, and these kids spend so much time with each other, so much time in other disciplines. They're able to do these soirees and dabble in other disciplines that aren't necessarily their main discipline. I mean, you'll find that that all of these things, obviously, that aren't clear to you right now will become so much more clear as your child becomes more and more comfortable in this incredible environment that we have at MSA.
Thank you, Dave. I would like to add as well that my daughter was interested in one discipline and changed her mind. And she did contact Shannon, and Shannon was able to work with her and transition her to where she is now in foundation art. So there is a process, and I'm going to try and see if I can get Shannon's email address and share that in the chat as well. It sounds like there may be a lot of questions for Shannon that folks would like to share. Let me go ahead and move on to the next question. It says, we live in San Rafael. When will School Mint be available for us to proceed with enrollment and choosing classes?
It sounds like that might be another
That's
question for Shannon in terms of the
One for Shannon.
the transfer and everything.
Okay, all right. Okay, and a question about rehearsals. Is that during school hours or not?
Depends on the discipline.
In rock band, they do rehearse in on campus, and but they do individually rehearse at home. They rehearse their part.
Okay, great, thank you. Next question, let's see. Can you talk about if your student got into more than one program, do you have to pick a program, or can you take a class in each discipline other than theater and dance?
I think that depends. You know, my daughter, who's currently a sophomore, last year had one class of theater, one class of vocal music, and she did dance PE. I don't know what each of the individual disciplines has in terms of how many hours they're expecting of their freshmen. Perhaps other people can speak to that, but there certainly have been times when students have been able to do more than one discipline to sort of figure out which one they feel is a better fit.
I would add, I think it depends upon, yes, the discipline and where you're placed within that discipline. I know dance is an example. Intermediate and advanced are 2 periods. So it would be difficult with all your other academic commitments to do something different. But if you were in foundation art dance, you have more flexibility.
Okay, great. Next question. My girl never got her letter, but we found out via phone an hour ago that she is in her second and third choice, but waitlisted for her first choice, which is drawing and painting. What is the process for waitlisting, and what are her chances of getting in? There's actually a couple more questions after that, sorry. Will we know what number she is on the list, and how is placement determined?
So I have a canned answer from a newsletter to that, actually. So a number of programs experienced a high number of incredibly talented students. If placed on a wait list, the program will not be included on your letter of intent, but you may still be notified with an offer in the program that if a space becomes available based on the students who accept placement. I'm actually not sure if the numbers and where you are on the wait list is shared or not. I don't know if any of my co-hosts have.
Well, I mean, I'll talk about theater. There's been plenty of occasions in theater where kids have just kept showing up until Mr. Franz has finally said, yeah, all right, we had you on the wait list, we'll let you in. I mean, that's happened 3 or 4 times. So I don't know what anybody knows about other disciplines, but it's certainly not unheard of.
I mean, if there's room, they'll try to accommodate as much as possible. And so, and then also during this period, they're waiting for people to send their accept that they're to tell the school that they're coming to MSA, and some kids don't. Some kids decide, to go do something else other than going to MSA, and then spots open up, and so that's another way where space can open up.
Why anyone would choose to go anywhere else is totally beyond me, but I it happens. Product design. So my law partner, his son is a freshman in product design, and he's talked with me a lot about different projects that his son is doing. We had a fundraiser. We did 2 virtual fundraisers, one last spring and one this year. Time is meaningless now, but for those fundraisers, we had students in the product design program create giveaways that for people who donated the program, they were given these product design giveaways. We did trivets. The students made these just really, really interesting trivets that we gave away to donors. And then at the most recent fundraiser, we had a sort of an old time radio theme, and I asked that someone create an old time looking microphone to use on set. And so the product design students created this. I don't even know what the material was they made it out of it, but created this old time radio that says MSA across the top, like call letters. So there's wonderful, wonderful work being done there. There's very my partner's son created you create a business plan, you create a product, and then you make a business plan for how you're going to mass produce the product and distribute the product and sell the product. Really cool real world stuff that those students get to do.
And can I add that part of why they have that amazing opportunity and amazing equipment and things is partially due to the money raised by our foundation and our families, and working together and really supporting and giving these students amazing opportunities. Product design is so phenomenal, and the things that they do, and what Dave was saying about having an opportunity to listen to a client, build a product, learn to work with a client, and have that skill set to graduate high school with making a product, a business plan, ready to sell it. It's amazing. It's a very, very cool discipline.
Could I'm sorry, I'm trying to, I typed flipping and pecking. Someone raised a question about whether students have to participate in all 3 productions in the theater program. They don't have to. Chances are they're really going to want to. The issue with the productions, as I've had to navigate with now 3 children, is how do you find the time for the after school stuff, to play softball, to be a cheerleader, to be on the water polo team, whatever it might be? How can you be in a production and be part of that particular after school extracurricular opportunity? And that's, theater is super demanding. My girls have spent and continue to spend, by golly, once the world is open again, a lot of time on campus. And that's a choice that they've made and that we as a family have made. But it's really curtailed. I'll be honest about this. It's really curtailed a lot of the high school experience I had. I was able to be in the musical and play on sports teams, and it has become very difficult for my girls to do that.
So I'm actually gonna jump in here because we are at 6:30. I want to be just respectful of everybody's time here.
I thought
we do have
Andrea.
Yes, everybody is welcome to stay on with Dave all night. No, but actually, really, thank you, Dave. Dave is one of the reasons I love MSA too. Your enthusiasm for the program in the school is great, really. So Lynn has actually posted all of our emails again in the chat, and I have it here on this last page. This presentation will be available, and I know Michelle or Shannon are going to send it out tomorrow to all prospective families. So the recording, the presentation will be available. We welcome you to contact us directly if you have questions about us in the year that we are, the programs that we're involved with, or general questions. We're also going to save the chat because there are a number of questions that were kind of personal to certain situations that we'd like to get answered. So we will go through those and try to respond to you individually, or even just send them over to Shannon or Michelle, where we think that they're probably the more appropriate person to answer them. But we do, we hope that everybody recognizes what a wonderful place MSA is, and there's tremendous support, great program, and we're thrilled that so many of you were able to join us tonight and genuinely interested in learning more. So with that, I'll thank all my co-hosts, and
Thank you.
hope to meet all of you prospective parents at some point.
Thank you, Andrea, for leading us.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.
Go Hornets.
Thanks, everyone.
MSA forever.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, I've got the chat saved, so we can go ahead and close.
Let's do it again sometime.
Thank you so much.
That was
That was fun.
Thank you,
Let's do once a
everyone.
week.
Great job.
It was fast and furious.
They
It was
had
fun.